One. Good evening, folks. You're very welcome to a podcast on showing tips and on preparation coming up to sales on behalf of the Irish Simmental Cattle Society. I suppose we're joined by the leader of them all, you could say, when it comes to showing and selling of pedigree Simmental cattle. We have Garrett Behan from the Clonagh Simmentals and Jennalyn Simmental herd. Garrett, how are you?
Not so bad, Niall. How are you?
Thanks a million for joining in. I suppose, Garrett, I went Googling your name today, Garrett, right? And I tried to look up what achievements could I talk about and what could I talk about. But I only have a half an hour on Zoom and I won't even start with all the achievements. And well done to you. When did you get into Simmentals and why was it Simmentals?
I suppose, first of all, thanks very much for having me here. We always had Simmental with our dairy herd. We always ran a Simmental stock bull with our dairy herd, I suppose. And we started like a lot of people would. We said we'd buy our own cow and breed our own bull, but sure, that started to grow. And we originally bought, I think, about 12. My mother started into it, and she bought the first one in the RDS Spring Show in 1989 of the late James and Ivy Thornton. And then I bought one myself shortly afterwards, Clonagh Wanda. So, we always ran Simmental, so like it was a big, powerful breed that could easily rear a calf and do what we want at the time, you know.
And I suppose then you branched into Charlie and Limousine. Is it something that you're hoping to progress into the Charlie and the Limousine, or just keep with the Simmental?
I still say Simmental to me are number one by far in the herd. I run by cows in batches out there of normally around 28, 21, 28 different sheds, all just cubicles. There's one shed where there's mainly limousines in it. There'd be a few recips, and there would be maybe 6 or 7 pedigree Simmental cows in it. And there's the one shed that annoys me to a point because I see my Simmental cows and my recip cows, and they rear the whole shed of calves. You can see 4 calves sucking any cow. You know, ideally, I'd love to see the limousines all in their own shed to get a better performance data on what they're doing when you go to weigh them and things, because you're not just getting a true accurate figure on them.
Okay, so I suppose you're leading into my next question. I suppose, right, somebody looking at this tonight and they're new to the Simmental breed, and I'll just focus on the Simmental breed, but they're new to the Simmental breed and they want to emulate what Garrett Behan has done and Lindsay. What would you say? Just say we take a calf born in the middle of September, right? Middle of September, bull calf, and we would love to go to Tullamore in August and eventually sell them then the following November then in Roscommon at the Premier Sales. Just talk me through the steps of what you would do to get your calf right, your calf born, then your calf wintered, then your calf to spring, your calf to show, and then eventually then showing it then in November. Talk me through the steps that happens in Portlaoise.
With me, it's supposed to be simple enough, right? They're born in the back end of the year, we'll say your September calf, and they stay out with their mother with no creep, sucking their mother and mother alone. I know some people will offer them a bit of creep outside. I don't. They're grazing out on grass until normally about the first 2 days in November. Normally the Tuesday, when the November sale was on in November, that sale is now October. Normally the Tuesday after that sale, everything comes in here. I try and suffer them out and try and keep them out till that sale is over. Everything comes in then. The last couple of years, them autumn calves have access to a bit of the driest ground we have out behind us the whole round of the year. So they're out and they can come in out and suck the cow. Cows are on cubicles, calves are on straw bed, creep area. They're offered a kg meal. Now, it'll take them to Christmas to be eating a kg meal. They're still on the same kg in January, February, March. Then weather permitting, they'll go out then in March. And they'll be out till I'd say mid-May, maybe even June time, without creep. Normally I pull in what show calves I bring in, come in on their mother still, about the 10th to 15th of June. I divide them from the rest of the herd, bring them home here, put them on once a day suckling. The reason I kind of do that, and that goes on for the younger calves as well, your Octobers, your Decembers, even down to your February calves, and they all come home around the yard. We've only a small bit of land around the house here, so most of it's across the main road or a few miles down the road. So they come home and they'll all go on to once a day suckling. That's mainly down to a management point of view to make them easier train. Like anybody who knows me know when I go to shows, I don't bring one calf or two calves, I bring a lorry load. So it's a case of trying to get the lorry load in the morning at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to go to a show and have them train. Plus, I think it makes them an awful lot easier to handle because they've got that break from their mother. They're not roaring for their mother all day long at a show. They're used to going home suckling that mother every evening. So they're in the shed, so they don't miss their mother. And it just makes it a bit easier. And it breaks that bond with them. So then they go on to meal, and they get access outside after a while when you get that bond broken. And after that, they stay in that system, and then until maybe they're 10, 11 months old. I don't wean till then because I'd have big problems here with somewhere dry cow mastitis as well. So I tend to leave them on the cow for as long as possible. And they'll be on meal fed morning and night. There wouldn't be any huge amounts, maybe 3-4 kgs at most, you know. And then they're just brought on and continued on till the autumn sales that way. Once they're weaned, then they're separated and put into bunches and done the same way. But everything with me is done in bunches. I don't single out a calf into an individual pen. I've always said, like, the bulls are housed during the winter in pens of 7. The best bull comes out with a pen because he's the best bull in the pen. It's not because he got special treatment. Just like with the numbers I have here, there's nearly 120 or so calving down in pedigree calves here every year. So I don't get time to be brushing and washing. I've tried it with certain pens of bulls, washing them every day, every second day, blow drying them, things like that to keep hearing them. I found no difference, none whatsoever. Hardship.
So right. So you have your calf. Right. I suppose you get your red rosette then in Tullamore, and then it's amazing. Then I've seen you do it. You've got your red rosette in Tullamore. Then you come down to Roscommon then in October or whenever, and you still get senior male champion with the calf, and I'm still in his wedding clothes. How are you managing that?
I suppose I could say I don't really know, but I could tell you what I do that might help it. Is I never have them right for the first show. Like our show, as I said, them calves are only pulled off the cows or pulled into the rest of the main herd in the middle of June. So our first show, let be Atlow and Show, if I want to go to Cork Show or somewhere down the other ends of the country, they're all late June show. So my calves only 2 weeks in treatment. So realistically, to be honest with you, I would say most of my calves are never at their peak at Tullamore. And that would be a big help to find it right. At the end of the year is the payday, not Tullamore to me. They're never really right in Tullamore, but they're still good enough to win Tullamore. Now, the small shows prior to that, to me, it's about training the calves for your Tullamore show. I don't really have me calves clipped in peak condition, looking perfect for all them shows. And normally the week before Tullamore, I'd spend the week clipping cattle here. There could be 22 cattle going to Tullamore. So I aim to have them right for both. Try to have them reasonably right for Tullamore, but your main aim is to have them right for November. Now, you can do a system of bringing them down. If you want to peak them for Tullamore, you have to peak them for Tullamore as per normal. But I would say then you have to bring them back down to bring them back up. If not, the bloom has gone off them.
So when you say bring them back down, in simple terms, what are you?
Reduce your feed. Let them run off. Reduce your feed. Let them off. Run away for a couple of weeks.
Okay. Out.
And bring them back.
Out grass. On grass.
Yeah, out on grass. Yeah.
And in your grazing system, then how do you manage your grazing system? Is it calves out on front, or is it cows and calves all together?
Cows and calves. Ideally, listen, we've all paddocks here, 3 acre paddocks. So cows every day every day you could move up to 7 wires every single day here. They all get moved.
There's Lindsay.
Lindsay and Jack, yeah. Everything gets moved. Every single batch of cattle on the farm gets fresh grass every single day.
Okay.
We would ideally, I'd say, would love to set up creep gates and forward, graze the calves, and take them off creep feeders altogether. Creep feeders, to me, I absolutely hate them, because come to when you have calves 500 kgs still sucking a cow, or maybe even more, up to 550 and 560 kgs still sucking cows here. Access to meal, they eat too much in my opinion. I'd rather have them graze in front of the cows and have some sort of a truck system up. Someday I'll get it done, but it's a matter of making up a whole bunch of little creep gates and setting them up in between on my paddock systems. I'm not fond of using a wire system, because I think that gives cattle bad habits of going under wires. And when you want to start moving them somewhere you want to move them to, they might want to move somewhere they want to go themselves. So I'd be happier to work with a gate system and have half trucks, some simple system with half barrels all joined together, and just pull them from one paddock on together. The calves are always going ahead to get a bit of grass.
So what's happening on the farm at the minute? What are you flushing at the minute? Have your calving done, or?
Most of the calving is done. There'll be a couple of recips here that didn't hold embryos last year. I use recips. I can use them 4, 5, 6, 7 years if they scan right and they're perfectly right, and I know they're clean, healthy cattle. I use them and I'll stay using them. I put in a go of eggs last week, just last Friday actually, and I have 2 more cows just on heat, just starting to come on heat there now at the moment, and recips will come on heat for tomorrow for AI and for flushing next week as well. So yeah, I like December calves. To me are a very profitable calf. They're strong enough in the Simmental breed to be able to work in the spring, in your April, May time there. They're hitting 16, 17 months. They're big, powerful bulls. Your September bull, I have 2 mine around the place. I'd say they're the most costly animal in the yard. So I like a December calf.
And so then I suppose I know from, I suppose we'll be dealing with small numbers, and majority of breeders would be small numbers, and we'd have that time to halter the animal and be around it and be very connected with the animal. But I suppose you're dealing with such vast numbers. How do you get your animals trained quickly and I suppose quietly that they are, I suppose I haven't seen Garrett Behan with a one that doesn't stand right or doesn't lead right. So
you haven't looked that closely, so well, listen, I'd be very much into docility in cattle. Like, I was blessed, I suppose, with T-Rex and a few of the bulls I use here put such plastiness into cattle. The last couple of years, last 3-4 years now, I've been tying all the calves. I have 75 or 76 calves tied and trained already this winter. Now I find them different ages is easier to do. We'll say just last week, I'd say I done all that. I done a batch of 28, mainly 3 or 4 November calves, mainly all Decembers, and maybe 1 or 2 Januaries in it. I found them the hardest batch to do. We'll say 2 weeks before that, I would have done a batch of September, October calves, mainly limousine, then I would have another batch. And the week before that, then I done the August, September Simmentals. And I found them by far the easiest. The second batch was quite easy as well, but then the younger batch, I think they're just at that age where they're just still wary of you. Like, strange enough, I don't walk into cattle that much. Everything here is kind of automated and point that they're fed with a diet feeder. They're bedded with a straw blower. I don't go in. Anytime I ever see me work on a fork, it actually is in Roscommon around by the straw. I don't do it. Full stop. Don't have to do it. And the yard is set up with them. So, like, I'm on my own here. My dad, Lindsay's last year. Lindsay was out a lot more than she's been out in a good few years. And I suppose with this pandemic we have at the moment, kids are just back to school today. So I know she's lining up to come out tomorrow to do a bit of washing. But most cattle, the first time to see a show stick is normally in the ring in Roscommon. Strangely enough, they normally get about 2 walks beforehand and they're done. I would tie them, but it's been a big help from being trying to train 40, 50, 60, 70 bulls and heifers when they're a year and a half old, to starting them at that younger age. That has been a big change now. But it's a tough day's work now. I tied them on a Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday. Tied them on the Thursday, walked them back to the cows. Friday, walked them back to the cows, and Saturday, walked them back to the cows. So I got a guy to give me a hand there this year. There was 28 calves in one bunch. I think it was 400 meters of a walk per calf, or 360 or 370 per calf there and back. So can you do that 28 times? I tell you, you'd have walked from here to, you'd have walked 7 or 8 K anyway.
Yeah. And especially with a calf there, the power of the calf. And tell me, like,
I always, one thing I'd never do with a calf is I'd never get close to them. I'd always stay 4 or 5 feet away from the calf. I'd always stay ahead of them if I can. I don't like going into their personal spaces. The same as if you walk up to a cow, so far you can walk 4 she steps away. The same with a calf. I let them come to me. I'm going to do them no harm. They'll relax with you too, and they'll trot on behind you. I'm not fond of getting in tight, holding them on a halter. Number one, you have no power. You might think you have no power and you have no balance when you're in there. I always step that 4 feet away from that calf and let it tottle on behind you.
And then I suppose you touched on the diet feeder and that. What do you put into the diet feeder on different months, or what's currently going into it now? Or
well, the cows here are on 0 meal, okay? They would be on fodder beet, grass silage, a bit of maize silage, and they might get about a kg of Orna Gold, which is a byproduct from making whiskey out of maize. It would be very high in protein, just to balance up the beet and the maize that would be low in protein. Bulls would be on similar enough. They wouldn't be on grass silage. They'd be on maize, straw, Orna Gold, and beet, and meat, and about 4.5 kgs of ration.
Perfect.
The heifers, a lot of the cattle that I'm bringing out in the autumn sales are actually on no meal, 0 meal. We'll say even the bull, the bulls I had all there the last time in Roscommon, and the heifers, they were on 0 meal from the time they were weaned. They were all on pitted feed of Orna Gold, oat hulls. There was a small bit of bread in it, and fodder beet.
Wow.
I paid about 180 of that. Listen, it brings down costs. You're pitting that stuff at 70 euros a ton. Then they're fed that, maybe they could be eating about 10 kgs of that with hay or grass, depending if they're in or out.
Okay. And tell me, looking back through your success and looking through your herd, what's your standout cow there at the minute that you personally love?
I don't know how I can answer that, because standout show success cow, I would say it's a toss-up between Dora and Darling Eyes. And strange enough, there's a cow called Absolutely Fabulous there, and I think she's the favourite of most people in the country. Yet she was the bridesmaid, I suppose, 3 times in Tullamore. Darling Eyes, I suppose, would be the stronger of the 3 of them, and show cow wise. Dora possibly a better breeder. Go back to Darling Eyes' mother, you have Senorita. Go back to Wanda. Listen, there's no real favourite in it. There's a couple of serious breeding cows out there that nobody's ever seen. So they're just consistently do it. If you go back through my catalogues, they're all coming from the main 3 or 4 main cow families, and half the herd would be them cow families, which would be the Wanda, the Sandra, the Rosebud lines,
And tell me, if a cow that you'd love to have that you never owned in the Simmental world. What's a cow that has stood out that you'd love to own?
Scarrington Rona.
Nice.
She's actually a UK cow.
Yeah,
I've seen her out a good times at shows, and I know I've spoke to the people as regards the person who owns that heifer actually would have bought the heifer off me for the 18,000 last year, and they said they wanted an embryo for luck, and I said fine, well I want an embryo back as well. That was out with that cow. She was always a cow that I've seen her a couple of times at shows in the Highland show, and that one I just always liked the cow.
Perfect. So I suppose, what advice would you give up and coming Simmental breeder, or an existing Simmental breeder, that's kind of at the crossroads now, that has a female at home? What's in a nutshell, what advice would you give that breeder?
A breeder getting in, I could give him a lot more advice maybe than a breeder that's already there. To me, if your females ain't right from the start, you spend too much time trying to correct things and faults on them. Every animal has a fault. You have to be critical of your own cattle if you want to go anywhere. If you can't criticize your own animals, you're going into the job blinded. To me, a female has to be feminine, has to be correct. First thing you see is the same as when you go into a nightclub, Niall. You see heads. Head has to be right, and that be from looking at a bull or a heifer or a cow. Head's the first thing you see, and the head has to be right. It has to be functionally correct, and they have to have width behind and squareness, and it has to be feminine. And I like a feminine bull as well. I don't like a big masculine bull that's big and coarse in himself. I like a bull to be feminine, have feminine traits in him, because listen, our breed is a maternal breed. Okay, we tick a lot of boxes on the terminal side as well, but our main breed is a maternal breed. The bulls we have here in our yard for sale, if they're bred from maternal cows and maternal back through their whole lines, them bulls will breed in the commercial man's herd the females that he wants.
Yeah. And where would you see the Simmentals in 5, 6, 10 years time? Where do you see the Simmentals breed going?
I see them in a very positive light. But I still think things just need to be nurtured and need to be keep an eye on. I'd have a couple of reservations as regards from where only last week actually I had this conversation with both my father out in the yard, and I had a guy here looking at bulls on Saturday, and two things sprung to mind. I wanted me more plainer bulls outside. I said, look at him. It was time he used to bring 3 of those bulls down to Kilkenny bull sales, and they were the same as everybody else's bulls down there. And they traded me fit beside in a cattle trailer 3 wide, no bother at all. You might squeeze out through them or over them to get out. In a 6'4" wide trailer. Nowadays you're putting bulls in them and they're with there's 2 bulls the same weight as 3 were. Is the breed going to go down the road that other breeds have gone down, which I haven't been in agreement with, of getting too beefy, too wide, losing them maternal traits? Was a big concern I had with another breed I have in my yard, is that they're turning them into totally opposites of what they came in from the country when they originally came in 50 years ago. They've lost an awful lot of their maternal traits and got harder calving and things like that. Things like we have to keep an eye on calving, we have to keep an eye on milk, and we don't need to go into just pure muscle machines. And the breed has developed an awful lot in the last 15, 20 years in that line, but we have held where we are. We may have lost a bit of milk from where we were originally, but we had an awful lot of milk to lose because we were a dual purpose milk fleck-feed breed that was basically ran through milking powders as well. Where now we're at a nice position at the moment. Cows have plenty of milk. We can do a big, good job on commercial herds, and yet we have enough of muscle to match an awful lot of the other breeds. The top end definitely has. Yeah. So I wouldn't like to see it going any more extreme if we're going to lose something else,
Yeah, I really think that's what the Simmentals pride themselves as the #1 suckler cow, and I think that's really what they should be focusing on as well. So well said. Look, Garrett, thanks a million. I suppose it was just to get an insight. I suppose people meet you at shows and the sales. You might have 23 cattle with you there. You might not get that opportunity just to have a chat with them. And hopefully this has brought an insight to your management and your success story. I suppose, right, just a few quick fire questions for you, right?
Okay.
Manor Park Handsome or T-Rex? And you can only pick one.
T-Rex. Clean, easy winner.
Polled or horned cattle?
Horned at the moment.
Tullamore.
Sorry, I didn't. Go on.
A red rosette in Tullamore or a red rosette in Strokestown?
Oh, Tullamore.
I thought that. Ivor Williams or a Nugent?
Well, I have a lorry in it, Hudson body on it. So Ivor Williams I have as well. So 45 Williams. So I suppose I have to say that.
Charlie or Limousine?
Simmental. There must have been a bit of interference. There must have been a bit of interference there coming across there. I think I heard Simmental twice, was it?
And a big question, what a lot of people around the country and the greater world wants to know: Lindsay or the cattle?
I think they go hand in hand together. Lindsay brought up a few cattle with her, so oh, so I have to say Lindsay.
I remember Lindsay had a great tagline.
I do the work, and she does a lot of the work and a lot of promotion work and behind it. Listen, with her behind the cattle end of it, the website end of it, all them type of things. And now we're doing our own little videos and out there of our own cattle for sale ourselves. So listen, she does a good bit of work behind the scenes. When I'm normally in bed, she's be doing that because I'd be up a few hours before, and I may be in bed a few hours before as well. So
I remember Lindsay had a good tagline when she got married. She says, "If you can't beat them, join them."
All right, okay.
But Garrett, I wish you continued success, and thanks very much for taking time out of your busy schedule. And I wish you further success with your herd. And we'll see you in Roscommon.
Cheers, Garrett. Don't forget, 20 tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.